I'm
All right.
going to take Oklahoma City's extensions.
Nice.
So they extend Shea, obviously, extending the MVP.
They are also on my list, by the way. Just want to mention that. They're also on the list. Yeah.
So they extend Shea. Great. To me, it's more about the way that they extended JDub and extended Chet.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able, despite the fact that these two guys coming off of a title had the most leverage they possibly could have had, right? They easily could have gotten 30% extensions. Both are represented by Bill Duffy, one of the best agents in basketball. And both, I think, took less, like, is the reality. The fact that Chet is not getting like rose ruled at all when he is the second favorite for defensive player of the year next year. Like if he plays the full year and Victor does not play the full year, like if Victor misses 17, 18 games and Chet is able to play those games, my guess is that Chet is going to be the favorite to win defensive player of the year in the NBA next year, and thus would have been eligible for rose ruled money at 30% of the cap. The fact that it is just locked in at 25% is a massive win for Oklahoma City. And like could be the difference between them like having to get rid of somebody versus not having to get rid of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Williams has already made all NBA S. He has already made an all defense team. He's already been the second best player on a title team. And whereas Paulo Banchero was able to negotiate a 30% rose rule extension eligible deal with the Orlando Magic, JDub, who has already done it, decided not to do it. And to me, that doesn't say anything about Bill Duffy, Justin Haynes, those guys that represent Jalen Williams. That says about what JDub wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way that Sam Presti says, no, I'm sorry, we're not doing that. We're not giving you the 30% max. We can't do it. I'm sorry, Jalen. You just helped lead us to a title as the second option. We can't give you the 30%. Sorry. The fact that JDub negotiated in escalators, so it's 26% if he makes third team All NBA next season, 27% if he makes second team All NBA, and then 30% if he makes first team All NBA or wins Defensive Player of the Year, or MVP or whatever. If he wins MVP, he's going to be first team All NBA, obviously. So it's kind of counterproductive, but regardless, they might end up in a circumstance where, like, look, J-Dub's already made All NBA, but like was third team. And if guys stay healthy this year, like if Wemby stays healthy, if Jaylen Brown or something goes crazy next year, you just never know. Like there's a chance J-Dub doesn't make All NBA. They might end up in a situation, maybe Chet adds more offensively and like it becomes more of like a three-headed monster. I'm just like throwing things out there in terms of like outcomes that could occur, right?
Yeah.
They might end up with Shea, JDub, and Chet all under contract for 85% of the cap, basically, next season. And then those numbers would get lower, is the thing. Shea's wouldn't, but like Chet Holmgren.
But the other two would, right. Yeah.
Yeah, like could be slated to essentially be at like 26% of the cap or so. And then JDub could be slated at like, 26% of the cap, like something like that into 2028, 29. Like there's a chance that because of the way that the cap is slated, I don't know, man, like locking in your literal championship core. It's not like this is a theoretical championship core. This is a championship core that has accomplished the goal. It has accomplished the task. To get those guys under contract for, essentially, other than Shea, less than what they're worth is a massive win. And I think it's so much more important than just about anything else that happened this summer.
Yeah, I agree. I had it just a couple lower just because I wasn't really like, how am I going to put a contract extension over something like that? But to your point, like this is the NBA champions getting a massive win with two of their best players locked in long term. And I guess if you want to include SGA in this, like three players locked in long term that can be part of a core. And the age for this group is just, it's ridiculous to think of the runway that they have in a league where, like, I remember a few years ago we were talking about the Memphis Grizzlies and the runway that they have, and they've now traded Desmond Bane, and that, like, they're now a very different group and at a very different stage than they were when they were battling against the Warriors and second in the West and whatnot. Like, I don't think that OKC, with the MVP talent that they have, with the flexibility that they have financially, because I think that's an underrated part to this, like the way they line this up, and this is credit to their front office, but the way they line this up to Hartenstein's team option expires exactly when Shea's extension number hits, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
They also obviously have the Caruso extension, which I think is a healthy deal, but fair value, good value for a guy who was just massive for what they did last year in the playoffs. And they have the fluidity to replace some of those players with the Case and Wallaces of the world. We'll see if Thomas Sorber ends up becoming a real player for them. I really liked him in the draft. I'm probably impartial in there just because I really wanted him for the Raptors. But that said, like he was a guy that I really liked, and I think he fits excellently with what OKC wants to do. Chet and JDub at those prices makes tons of sense. And like, to me, the Chet part of this is huge because there are no escalators in what he can do, right? It's 25%, basically straight 25% of the cap every single year, if I'm not mistaken, or if I read that correctly. Also, yeah, Mike Weisberg mentions Topic, also another factor in here in terms of another guy that can replenish what they can do. I think that's a huge part because, to your point, he is one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. You look at defensive field goal percentage, you look at block shots, reaction time, everything that he brought to this team defensively was so massive that it's incredible that they got that contract extension from Chet.
It really is. I think it's a huge, huge piece of them being able to have the summer that they had. I mean, also, we'll just note, like, these aren't going to get brought up the rest of the time, but like AJ Mitchell now is locked in on like 3 million, 2.8 million, 2.8 million. Like, those deals are like bizarrely like lowly guaranteed as well. Somehow. Jalen Williams, Will is locked in on 8 million for this season, 7 million for the next season, 7 million for the year after that. Aaron Wiggins obviously locked in at, 7 million, I'm sorry. It's 10 million this year, 9 million the next year, 8 million the next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's a descending deal. The way that they structure these deals with, money up front, and then they find a way to de-escalate it is really, really sharp. And then, Topic obviously will be able to come in. I'll be interested to see like what they do with, like, I'd imagine that the way this is setting up is that they're probably going to have to make a choice, not this year, not next year, but in the future on Caruso or Case and Wallace. Or like it could be Caruso, or, it could be like two of Dort, Kaysen, or Caruso, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you get to keep two of those guys. You might have to get rid of Isaiah Joe in order to do that. So maybe it's like two of those four, and I think that Joe would be one of the obvious ones out in that case. You have your third big locked in at like a totally reasonable $7 million in J. Will. You can hopefully have a backup point guard and a backup center locked in at like $11 million here with Sorber and Topic. Their cap sheet like should be in a good position, and people have talked about them. Oh no, they only have like a certain number of years to be able to do this. I think they're more well positioned than just about anybody in the league to be able to handle their business here moving forward.
Yeah, like Lou Dort, I'm just looking at it right now. Lou Dort has $18.2 million next year, and then he has a team option for $18.2 million the year afterwards. Like, I imagine on the open market, Lou Dort makes more than that. And so they likely opt into that club option, and you're looking at him being an unrestricted free agent 2 years from now. The Hartenstein question is fair. I'm not sure they would opt into that $28.5 million team option that they have.
I feel quite confident they won't be able to do that, to be honest.
That makes sense. Yeah. So that is definitely a domino in how because Hartenstein was big for them. We just talked about the lineup flexibility, the double big lineups that they ran. Houston is similar in that realm. Like, they need another guy next to Chet. Unless Chet becomes a full-time 5, and maybe that's part of the equation over the next couple of seasons is like, hey, we need to groom this guy to be our starting center in the long term. And now we don't need to go out and grab, a $28.5 million starting center or just center in general to back up Chet. But yeah, I like it. I like this deal a lot for them. That makes a lot of sense.